top of the day to you on this inspirational journey. Let me tell you, this is cray. But you know what happened to Monday? It's the word. Have you not heard? It's the word. I am the what? The reporter reporting to you the way, the truth, and life. Let me tell you, life be lifing around here. So our topic today is about religion and relationship. You know what? I just had a attack on me a few minutes because we understand that we don't only get attacked just in the flesh, but it's about a spiritual realm. We are being attacked and we are being opposed by different types of spiritual realms and principalities and things of such. So once you learn who you are and whose you are and about your surroundings, your spiritual realm, even though we in this flesh, we must understand how things work. All right, so we're going to talk about our relationship and then our religion. From the beginning, it was about the way. And, it's about the truth. And it's about life, okay? But life in this flesh, in this earth. In order for the spirit to walk around on this earth and to be seen, the unseen to be seen, it had to deal with an earth suit. But in order to be in this earth suit, the spirit had to yield to it. So it gives it a choice to choose whether or not you want what type of spirit you want to yield. Because when it came to the spirit of darkness, or Lucifer or Satan, he wanted to come in his array and he didn't understand, like, why can't we come in this array? But a spirit cannot be seen in its spiritual form. In order for the spirit to be seen, it had to be in a fleshly form. So that is how we are today. So you must understand the creation of who you are. Find out about facing yourself, facing your enemies, and then facing your destiny. So as our ancestors, and we think about our forefathers and things and people that came before us and the things that they had to endure, and then hopefully it will help us in our path in real time and then in the future. Hey, future selves, what you say? What? We are on our game. We are trying to move forward, to be all what we want to be, to create a better life form for us. Okay, so we already know where we came from, our ancestors and the things they had to endure. But it don't mean that we have to keep staying in that same cycle. Okay, we must go forth. Every year we always repeat a lot of holidays, a lot of different cycles. We go through the same thing, some things to be in remembrance of, and some things that we just do because of rituals, because of religion, because of relationships. So you got to figure out who you want to be, and we all have a choice to choose. It's up to us. We don't have to stay in that same state. Okay, so what happened to Monday is the word. Have you not heard? So let's dive in. Okay, so religion and relationship. Okay, which one that you want to hold? All right, so sometimes they can work together, and then sometimes they can oppose each other. So it always what we will call a deep inner conflict within ourselves. It's not about beating ourselves up. It's about becoming aware of the inner parts, the inner patterns that pulls us away from our God voice, our creator. So we already understand and we already believe that God is God and God is a spirit. He was created where he never was created. He just is. When they say God is, he was from the beginning. There is nothing else. The word or the Bible is the only place that we could find of what happened when it came to how we became in existence. Okay, so in being in existence, we must understand the aspects when the spirit created the flesh and then dwelled within the flesh. and then how we are to operate and to oppose. We must put this flesh under submission if we say that we want to walk in the spirit. All right. So you must understand that a lot of times, a lot of history was lost to us, and we just end up evolving. We just end up dealing with whatever was passed down to us from our parents, from our ancestors. And a lot of things came with hurt, pain, blood, death. And, through history, you could see the different change. And if you're not, here I am, what? I am the reporter reporting to you about the way, the truth, and the life. And it's up to you to choose which way that you want to go and which life that you want to live. But just in case that you were not taught or did not understand the things that were taught that would bring everything into like, oh, now everything makes sense. Because sometimes it's a lot of things that we may feel empty within, that we may feel lost in this world. Or it's like, that does not make sense, and we need some type of clarity. So here am I on this inspirational journey. And as you journey to and fro on this earth, that will help you along your way. All right. So we must understand that parts of us that wants to be in control. We want to be in control. I remember growing up, it's just like, man, I can't wait. Oh my word. I wish I could I can't wait till I'm grown. So I can get out of all these strict rules and all of this, the particular strict ways. But lo and behold, let me tell you, I have to ask for forgiveness. And I thank God for asking, for my mother being able to live, for me to go before her death, to ask her for forgiveness and tell her I'm sorry for my wild and out ways and my disobedience that I did not understand. But now that I'm old enough, oh my word, if I only would have paid attention, you know what I'm saying, to a lot of things that were being taught. But then at the same time, it's a lot of stuff that was not being explained to us and or taught to us in order to help us along the way. Some things that were being taught to us, it was because of protection. A lot of parents just wanted to protect. Just do what I say. Don't worry about arguing with me. And we always want to ask, why? 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 We always want to know the why of things. But a lot of it was like, do what I say. Don't, be questioning this and that. And we just it didn't make sense to us at the time. But now that we're old enough to, be in their shoes and understand what they were saying, so parents, I ask you, please, just stop, take a moment, take a pause to help train a child in the way that that he or she should go in order to help them navigate to and fro on this earth, that they may not be caught up in these what should I say, these mysteries, these tricks, these manipulations of this world to get them to give up their soul salvation, to stop them in their young lives, to because it's designed to snatch your life, and not let you live the way that you was designed to live. I know it's very sad in some situations. We don't understand how young people leave before, their time, but you never know. God had already seen a future before us. And we often get mad and question, why did they take them at a young age? But we don't know their future. We don't know how they was designed, what is going on. We don't see that the demise that set before them, that something tragic could have happened, even though we're looking at, tragic already didn't happen, but it could have been just really, really bad. And we don't know. So we must look at our habits and our cravings that feels good in the moment, but it's damage to us in the long term. So we must understand what opposes our spirit. So first you must decide which spirit that you want to follow. It's up to you, and that's the beauty thing about, God's creation and how he created the heaven and earth. He created us to be good, but then here come a the other part, the yin and the yang part to us, which is the spirit of darkness, Lucifer, and his way in his, his array of things, and how he desired that he wanted to come on this earth. But God had a way, he had a code of things, he had a structure of things in order to have eternal life. But we chose not to have, our forefathers chose us not to have, that particular eternal life always. So now here it is. Here we are. This has been passed down to us, so now here we are to deal with it. So do we stay in the same rotation, in the same loop? We always in a loop, or do we just continue to, get in this portal and go on to the next phase of life? So we have to understand about the irritations that we have that flares up, before we even think. I have gotten better. You know what I'm saying? I used to pop off before I even think. I could hear somebody and think that I already know what they're about to say before they finish it. And then here I am rolling my neck, rolling my eyes. That used to be me. I have gotten better. Sometimes it do flare up, but the desire I want to be, that is what I'm striving for. So I try to press down and put those ugliness that I have within me at bay. And I allow the light, the beauty, because we are created wonderfully and beautifully. That's how we was designed and made. So I try to, work on myself. The defensive reaction when corrected, I have worked on that and looked at it like, okay, you know what? You're not always right. You know what I'm saying? There are things that, you could work on within yourselves that you may not even be aware of, So, and it's about desire to prove yourself, or to win an argument. So I had to deal with those two. Okay. So it's about cravings and something that promises that relief. So you have promises and cravings that you need to deal with in order to give yourself relief. But sometimes some of those cravings will leave you empty, and then it's all about, I will react to that flesh. Oh, as I look back now, I must ask for forgiveness for anybody that I felt like that I have offended or whatever, dealing with my flesh in the way that I react when people or things, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty. I have trust issues because I already know. I don't know. Sometimes a lot of people come, and look like they are a sheep. You know what I'm saying? And they could be the doggone devil. They look like they're an angel, but they the devil. They come in a disguise, a wolf in sheep clothing. So sometimes it's hard for me to determine who is who. So I try to, work on my spirit of discernment. And that is something that we need to have within ourselves, to work on our spirit of discernment. So make sure y'all look that up to understand what is the spirit of discernment that y'all may understand. So when you see these people in flesh, they say we're not fighting against flesh and blood. We're fighting against spiritualities and principalities of darkness. So we got to know sometimes that spirit would enter into our loved ones, enter into us, enter into our flesh and make us react and do things that is against our self-will. So we have to learn how to be strong in order to beat that flesh down so that flesh won't have a react, that we will be more spiritual and it will respond better, and cause less chaos than ever. Okay, so it's about some of our immoral ways, some of these things that was passed down to us, some things that was given to us, embedded in us, that we have no control of. But we do have an opportunity, as we see those things within us and we don't like it, then we have the opportunity to change. We have all kinds of filthy thoughts, you know what I'm saying, that we may, as you see a lot of I'm gonna say predators, and you see more so they only talk about it when it comes to little kids, about different predators, and when it comes to other sex, opposite sex and things about, our immoral ways that's found within us, and our filthy thoughts and our shameful deeds. Okay, then we are going to today, it's about worshiping idols. A lot of things that we haven't even considered. We kind of touched about it last Monday about worshiping idols, and these are like gods that we didn't even know. And one of our commandments that was given to us was to not worship our idols, that we are to worship God and Him only. So we go to worship. Some people say go to church, and we go there and we like be worshiping God, but our mind be everywhere and anywhere besides of what it's supposed to be on when we enter into a temple, a holy temple of God, in order to sit there before Him to hear His word and to give Him praise and thanks for allowing us to make it through the week, because a lot of people didn't even make it to the day. Some people died in their sleep. Some people had accidents. Some people had issues that they never ever been able to like at least give God praise and honor and glory for how far He have brought them thus far. All right, so we have to deal with that. And with dealing with idols, we must understand about practicing different habits and ways. So we're dealing with religion and relationships. So our whole deal is to have a relationship with God, our creator, our savior, our redeemer. But at the same time, we also have an option to choose. Do we want to deal in darkness and practice witchcraft and other different things that our ancestors, our forefathers, and people today may practice? I know on TikTok, it's a lot of people who dibble and dabble in witchcraft and call on the dead, call on the ancestors, call on this and that to say that they've given us a word from them. But I remember in the Bible or in the word, they talked about how one of our first leaders, Saul, called on Samuel, and Samuel was like, you can call on me all you want, but at the same time, it would not change your demise. Whatever is going to happen to you, it's going to happen. You can't change that. You're going to resurrect me, bring you all of that. So not only that, you done put the person who resurrecting you or trying to come up, bring me through a word through, not only you endangering them, but you also, messing with yourself. And it's still not changing what's going to happen to you. And you don't put all your money on there thinking that it's going to change your demise, or you trying to foresee the future ahead of time. But even when you do that, it still may come true, but you still can't change it. And even if you try to listen and see if you can override it, it still may come in before you even know it. It's already up on you. And that's dealing with the horoscopes, dealing with tarot card readings and this and that or whatever. The word, you cannot get past what the word says. The word is what it is. Okay, so we must understand that. And then sometimes we just hate others because they live in a life that we want to live. You know what I'm saying? But we can live that same life, but we have to let go some of the things that's within our lives that will help us better, or to be anywhere near what the people that we feel like we're looking at people like, oh, you don't deserve that. I want to be you, this and that. And you always hating on others. And for what? You know what I'm saying? Maybe they have been doing right or walking righteously and sacrificing and giving up a lot of stuff that they really want to do that they see you do. They might be, like, man, I wish I could be that person, but I have been disciplined and I have been ordained to go this way. But because you don't want to follow those strict rules and give up some of the things that you want to give up, some of the things that you need to give up, you just choose, to hate that person because they are there where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you don't know the life that they live. You don't know what they had to give up. You don't know the sacrifices that they had to endure. You know what I'm saying? In order to be or get where they are, but you want to be there. But instead, you want to hate on them, but you don't want to do the work that they have done. Come on. Help me, help you, period. So it's hard. Are you hard to get along with? Sometimes I could feel like sometimes I used to be like that because, like I told you, I had trust issues. So I didn't know whether you was, for me or against me. So right, so then I had a jealous spirit. I used to be angry. I don't know that I ever been selfish or not, because whatever I had, you had. All you had to do is just ask me, and I don't mind. If I had it, I'm gonna give it. If I don't have it, I can't give what I don't have. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'll let you know. So argue. Sometimes I want to argue with people if I know for a fact what, roll back the cameras. I'm gonna let you know. You know what I'm saying? And I stand 10 toes down. That's the only part that I argue about. I'm not finna argue with you about stuff that I don't even know. I don't like causing no trouble. I'm all about peace. But if you bring that trouble, what? You know, I'm gonna serve it. I'm gonna serve it. Wait, and I don't like to, but I mean, what? I ain't finna let you think that I'm a punk. You know, I got scissors. What? I'm always gonna try to stab a hole. What? I mean, you and me. But I don't like that because I love everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want that on me. I don't want that on me. It ain't even worth it because I know it's over something stupid. All right, and you have to think before you just react about things, about being envious. Now, oh yeah, about getting drunk. Sometimes, oh yeah, I like a good drink. My little hookup now is espressos martinis, but I don't get to a point where I'm humbuggish with my drink. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be watched for that if that spirit was in you. All right. So religion has been, and we already know in the Baptist religion, they don't like to drink, but majority of the time, when I heard Baptist is always a secret drinker. Catholic always be drinking, you know what I'm saying? So it's just things that we know about all these different religions, but we have to understand that all these religions has been part of human life. As far as back as we can think, as far as back as we can trace from human behavior, long before history was written, and the only book that I ever found, and as I've been doing my inspirational journey as I go to and fro on this earth, the Word of God is the only thing that I have found that will understand, where I can understand where the beginning of life, of civilization, of where existence became. And it's in the Word of God. I mean, and nobody can, you know, um, combat that. They came up with the Big Bang Theory, but at the same time, and when God say, let there be, pa-dow, 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 okay, that's the Big Bang, you know what I'm saying? Things start happening. So do not let the world mess you up in your mind about what is, okay? That's what I want to say about that. So humans always have been searching for a meaning, searching for things that are sacred, a connection with something beyond ourselves. The only thing beyond ourselves that we must understand, loved one, future selves, uh, ghost writers, people behind the scenes, people who do not want to be seen, people who do not want to come forth to know that you're learning. It don't matter. Support this here. That way I can continue to give you what you need to help you along your way. A lot of people don't want to enter into this journey until something tragic happened. Then you want to run to God. Then you want to listen to his word. Then you want to try to pray and do right until he gets you out of your situation. Then you go back to your way of life. But life do not be like that. Eventually, all those times and opportunities gonna run out. You must choose which way that who you want to serve, and that's life. And you can't get mad because we all have the same opportunity to choose which way that we want to go. Okay. So long before history was written, humans have always, just understand this, always have been searching for meanings. So like, the sacred things, the connection, prehistoric religion before writings express themselves spiritually, through burials that we found, the rituals that we found, symbolic objects. And then as we look back during our ancestral days, look back to Africa, look back to Egypt, Asian, Rome, and different things about in history where people try to record and leave, some type of instructions to help us along our way as we for our future selves. And this is what I'm doing today. So if you don't feel like this is not for you right now, at least here's a documentary, here's a, particular time, because life and different people start to erase history and to fit it. Right now, we're in digital, we're in AI. AI is a artificial intelligence. What is artificial? Okay. You got to understand what is artificial. That's fake news. Thank you, President Trump. He always said fake news. So everything is about faking it, covering up what is real, covering up what is true. All right. Our AI is like an artificial intelligence. It's about me, you, so many people around the globe, around the area is inputting into a system, into a network, our thoughts, our ideas, the things that we found, the things that we think, the things that is true, the things that is false. And so the system will, put all these things together and come up with what they feel like a good answer, and then they'll tell you that this answer may not, has mistakes, so it may not be a full truth. But I'm telling you that here we are trying to search out or follow the path of the way, the truth, and the life. This is relationship versus religion. So from the beginning, when God created heaven and earth, the people was together, and to the fall, and to misunderstandings, and to manipulations came about, and disobedience happened, you know unknowingly, we was tricked. The enemy would trick. He would lie, steal, and kill in order to trick you out of your position. So as we go to and fro on this earth, even in our today's time, just be mindful. Learn how to have that spirit of God, which will give you the spirit of discernment. But you have to sow seed into those things and into those areas. That way you would have it. You can't say, oh, I'm following God, but you don't even put nothing in. If you don't put nothing in, you don't get nothing out. So you have to put godly things in. So whenever you come against oppositions, you will be able to, your Holy Spirit within you will bring to your remembrance what is the way, what is the truth, what is life. Okay. Other than that, you could be, manipulated, misused, and abused. Humans always search for this meaning. All right. So we talk about the Neanderthals and the early knowns of humans, the burials and the appearances, suggestions, different types of beliefs in the afterlife. These are different things that kind of helped us understand what happened back then in order us to know what we believe now. So these are things that has been passed on. So we're dealing with religion versus relationship. So in order to understand about the religion and about relationship, in the beginning, it was about the way. The way was a relationship that we had with God, how he created us to walk in. We're supposed to walk in his way, but we had a choice in this flesh. There's a choice to choose. And you have the opportunity to choose which way that you want to go, light or dark, yin yang. That's what it's all about. All right. So even before civilization, humans practiced different types of rituals. They honored the dead and created symbolic art, um, art signs, and spiritual awareness. So that's the reason why we look at some of the things that we have today. And like we have things that happen like when the Greeks came upon us, when the Catholics came upon us, when all these different types of tribes of people came upon us with their impressions, their beliefs, their ways, and how we would partake of it. and we will hook it up with what we already know, and then we will become whoever that person is. So that's what we're talking about, religion and relationships, because throughout the history, throughout the days, we have to discover like who we are. You know what I'm saying? It's we also mixed up. And we learned that through holidays. We learned that through Mardi Gras. Remember last week we talked about the gods we serve, and the Mardi Gras has different Greek gods or different gods that each one of the floats represented, okay, and what they believed and what they did. We all just celebrate it now like it's just a thing to do. We still bind into their ritual. And then, is this part of our relationship? And this is what we are. God already said that He not going. You can't serve me and them. You gotta make a choice, and that's what He said that we must do. So I'm just presenting this information to you that you may have an opportunity to understand who you are as a being, as a mankind, as a spirit, and figure out what spirit are you. Because sometimes we come on this earth and we so confused. We stuck in time. We stuck in our position. We don't know which way to go. And we want to be better than what we are, but we can't. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like we look at our situation. We look at present day. We're looking at our future. We're looking at the past, and we don't know what is what. It's very confusing, but we have no one to help us, get out of where we are. We don't have no mentors. We don't have no financial advisors. We don't have no discipline. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how to sacrifice. We don't know how to give up because we still have those desires that's within this flesh. All right. So we're going to talk about some of the different religions that we have, because we say, oh, I'm a Paul, I'm of Methodist, I'm a Baptist, I'm of Catholic, and all these things. We must understand, where are they come from? Where did all these different religions come from when it was just the way? So even before civilization, humans practiced rituals. They honored the dead, and they created symbolic art, signs of spiritual awareness. And I thank God for them, because if they didn't leave that behind, we wouldn't know back then what happened, and to help us into what we know now. So Mesopotamia, we already know, research that. Egypt, you already know what Egypt is. Egypt is part of Africa. So when people hear Africa, what do you think about Africa? Egypt, what do you think? So they were the first people to start, where written text was like found. Okay. It appeared on Sumerian type tablets. So back in the day, we heard about the Ten Commandments. And when Moses went up, to talk to God on a mountain, he had, tablets that he had to carve out. And with the hand of God, he written 10 commandments of things that we should follow to learn how to live on this earth. And then eventually in Leviticus, they came up with 613 type laws to help us deal with how to treat the land, how to treat disease, how to treat man, how to treat God. And they had all these things that in order to, how to even treat this earth. A lot of things that we see on this earth is because we trash it. A lot of things that don't grow properly. And we understand, about the prices of our food, the prices of things that are going on, because we do not, I don't even recycle, but I'm just saying, it's just like, I don't take my stuff and throw it down on earth. I at least would go and put it in a trash can and a trash bag. But sometimes we, throw trash on this earth and get it into the soil. And next thing you know, we understand why our crops is not growing different. This affects our food. But we don't think about that. It affects our water when we just throw trash around, but we don't think about that. We just do it because we weren't taught better. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we taught better, and we just don't care. All right. So as we look at myths and different cults and how it flourished through the temples and the priesthoods as they begin to emerge in our life. So one of the early, so since we're talking about religion, one of the early things that we hear about is Hinduism. Hindu. So you want to look up that. Little do you know, a lot of the religions has to do with God, but where they just only took part of what God is, and they just dwell on that part. They took this part and they dwell on that part instead of the whole thing, or they mixed up other things with God and they just believed in just that. And that's what we have today. But all this came from our ancestors. A lot of these things that we hear today in real time, is because these things was passed on. These things that through survival, through actual truths, and they didn't got it all mixed up. Same thing what we were talking about last week with our holidays and the gods we serve, dealing with Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, 4th of July, and all these things that we say that we serve, and it's a ritual thing. I mean, it's just things that we just recycling do, not knowing the understanding why it all happened. And we just do it. We don't even care. We just know, oh, this is a party. We get to drink, we get to smoke, and we just get to do life, not understanding that, what these things are symbolically mean. So Judaism, that's another that has to do with Abraham traditions beginning in Mesopotamia and in the Canaan. These are things that we have to do from our forefathers. But even with that, some of the things had got all mixed up. So these are things that you need to search out to figure out, what all of, because we're serving all these different religions, but we don't know anything about them, how they begin, where they come from. Okay, so my daddy was a Baptist preacher. So do we know anything about Baptists, where it come from, how it began, why we even serving Baptists versus other religions? Yahwehism emerges later on because through monotheistic Judaism, Yahweh. So a lot of, instead of people saying Yahshua or God, they say Yahweh. So a lot of people call on God, but it's only one God. It's only one spirit in his word. And those are what some people say the Trinity, but it's no Trinity. It's just God. He's speaking his word, just like you. You speak your word, your spirit, but what spirit within you that would make you your 3 in 1? Okay, so is your word what you speak? Is it bond? You know what I'm saying? Or is it because of something you repeating what somebody else said? You got to develop and understand who you and make your choice, and then stand on all 10 on it. Other than that, what do we look like to others? What do you think you look like to yourself? All right. So spiritual transformation across the continent, and that's where we're looking at. So we had Buddhism is another one. Is the teachings to the path to enlightenment. So some of that still is part of God. It's just like Buddha is one of the early and one of the longer, type, beliefs that came through this world. They was nomads, and you would travel the earth to try to figure out who you are, to find your enlightenment within. And then we also said about the way, it's the light within you. What light lies within you, and that's what the Buddhism will go for, to try to search out and figure out who they are. Some people will call them nomads because they will wander the earth until they receive this enlightenment, and then they be able to, oh yes, this is who I am. This is who I'm supposed to be. And pretty much that's how we supposed to be. Even though we may say that we are Baptist, we may say that we are Catholic, we may say that we are, Islam and this and that, but all of these religions took a part of the way and they just separated and broke off into it. And as we go to and fro on here, as we continue on this inspirational journey, we will continue to find enlightenment in different things of how and what is our development, what did we learn on this earth as we went to and fro, and how we go forth. Okay. So this is beautiful. I hope you finding that, some of these things that will help you along your way. All right. So Greek mythology, not mythology, Greek philosophy is like a religious thought. So we understand how the Greek infiltrated us, and how we know that we do still serve some of the Greek ways is about some of the sorors, some of the frats that we enter, you know, those particular Greeks, we still follow in some of those traditions and things. And sometimes I love to see them when they be doing their little stomp and they love, and all that stuff. I mean, it's just beautiful. But not knowing that all these things follow some type of philosophy that came way before our time, that we just embraced and said this is part of us. And we like looking at that, but we don't even know where some of these things even came from, or what existence, or how they even came about. All right. So Zoroastrians, some of the Rastafari, type people, one of the earliest type system, Rasta. So a lot of people would follow in those, particular ways. So the rise of some of the world major religions, we already know that Christianity is one of the major religions that we have on this earth. All right. And then the life of the word in the flesh is when gospel was written. The Christianity tolerated in some of the Roman Empire later became dominant. So the Christianity, Christ-like, that's when people at the first person or the first church ever was being called a Christian is Antioch. So if you go back in history, you'll see that the church of Antioch was the first place where it was written that people were calling Christians. So a lot of time we'll go around and say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. Well, little do you know that we didn't go around, or the Christians didn't go around to call themselves Christian. It was a mockery. But the mockery was other people would say, oh yeah, that's a Christian. A Christian is acting Christ-like. So when you actually say that, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, are you? Are you saying that you're Christ-like? Are you acting in those things? Well, I'm not for sure. Well, I don't call myself a Christian. I call myself a believer. I'm a believer in God, the Spirit, God, the Creator, God, the Almighty, and in His Word became flesh, and because His Word became flesh, it dwelt among us. His Spirit dwelt in my flesh. And I'm able to walk this earth to share this word, share this way, share this truth, and share this life with you as we inspirational, like journey to and fro on this earth. Sometimes we get L's, sometimes we get W's, sometimes we're able to overcome, and sometimes we fail. But he said we always get back up. Don't think that just because you fail that this the end. Dust yourself off. You just got to start back over. Some people don't want to start back over, but there's always an opportunity and chance to, go for it. So religion always shaped the laws, the mortalities. It shapes the art as we see in our particular time, in present time, real time. Is the social structures across the civilization. All of this is being shaped by that. Our next religion we have is Islam, which is another older particular, belief or religion. With Islam, a lot of people who believe in Islam, they still believe in some of the forefathers or some of the, people who was a major back in the days, like Abraham or David, this and that. They may not believe in some of the other things, but they do take key points. So we all connected some type of way in some of these religions. And then some of them, we don't know where they come from, but some of the majority of the religions is connected some type of way. But before we start having all this religion, we had like, the Buddhism, the Zoroastrian. We had like, the Yahweh, the Hindu, all these things was before things was actually written down. So you had no word to lead and guide you. You just had like word of mouth and teachings that, train up a child in the way that he should go when they're young. So when they're old, they can, they will may stray away from it, but they always will come back, to their roots, to their teachings, because finally they see like the prodigal son, oh my word, I'm eating pig slop. What am I doing? I had the best of life, but I walked away from that. So you discover yourself in the mistakes and the things that you have done, and you go back and you ask for repent. And then from there, you can go forth and restart over. But some people are like, man, they probably won't allow them, and they just rather just wallow in that and just lay in it instead of just like asking for forgiveness and go forth. It's just crazy, but we do that. So it's all about the rise of major world religions that we experience. We already know Christianity is one, the Roman Catholic, the Protestants, the Greeks, the Zoroastrian, the Buddhism, the Hindu, all these things that we have heard of, but we didn't know how they interacted in our life. So the life of the word is in the flesh. The life of the word is in the flesh. We in the flesh. So do the word of what is found within you, and that's what you activate on. So if you don't like the way, you know what I'm saying, you always have the way of darkness. It's a nature. We have two natures within us. We have a yin and a yang. We have the dark and the light. But the choice is yours, and that's what's so beautiful about this beautiful life. The choice is ours to choose. Gospel is written. So there are gospels and testimonies about what was, what happened, and what is, and then about the testimonies of people experience dealing with both, whether you dealt with the word and the spirit of God, or whether you dealt with darkness and the things that would happen, and to each other. And they also have so many movies, so many cartoons that they have rendered and kind of talk. But with these cartoons and in life, they have to make good to our itching ears. They got to make it entertaining for us. Other than that, we won't watch it. So sometimes you have half truths. So being mindful of that. When you see all that stuff, make sure you do your own research. All right, because some things they can't put in full truth, because sometimes we would think the movie is boring, even though the movie might be telling us what is. We still it's about itching ears. It's about entertaining. We always love to be entertained. So religion shapes laws, morality. It shapes our art, social structures across the civilization. So we must understand that. So across different cultures, humans share common spiritual things like creation, morality, afterlife, divine beings. So across all cultures, we share those things. All right. So we are connected, regardless of whether we want to think that we're not, but we are connected some type of way, whether it's the good or the bad, whether it's light or the dark. So Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, all these things were, and still some of them are, they still are today. So this global spread, this historical impact and cultural influence, and that's what we have today. But it's been blended, blurred lines, blurred lines, as we say, and that's how it is. A lot of lines have been blurred. A lot of things have been whitewashed over, and that we can't actually tell the difference between what is true and what is, not. So Christianity spread throughout the whole Roman Empire. Pretty much whenever I start reading the New Testament, it was the Roman Empire that conquered and kind of took over. But in that Roman Empire, they came with their own particular sacraments, their own particular gods that they served, and the things that they did, along with our God, the unknown God, because Paul talked about that. So the message of salvation, equality appealed across social classes, and we learned from the Bridgertons and different other historical movies. And I just thank you, Shonda Rhimes, and other people who put out different types of movies to help us along our way, to give us a glimpse of what was. But you got to determine and make a decision for your own self, so you just can't let this here and then you just let it go. You have to make a decision of who you want to be, who you are in today's time, into the real time in today's life. So it became tolerated later. The officials of religion, it became tolerated. So Christianity was one of the religions, and it became tolerated in Rome. So that's where you get the Roman Catholic. You have Protestants going to come in, and we'll talk about that later on. So most widespread religion on the earth is Christianity, but not everybody serve or worship Christianity in the same way. So Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, and his 95 Theses, it challenged the sale of the indulgence and the corruption in the church. When it came to the Romans, or the Roman Catholic, Luther did not intend to start a new religion. He wanted to reform the church because the church had stepped away or start implementing things. And you wouldn't believe, and a lot of people understand that you always hear about Jesus being crucified, but actually it was the church. It was the Sadducees and the Pharisees came together and they decided to crucify. Same thing what we have with the Senate and the House of Representatives. And so that's what our today's Sadducees and Pharisees are. Little do you know, that's what it is. And that was then, and it is now. It's just under different names. A lot of stuff is still carrying on today that was back then, but they changed the name so you wouldn't know the difference. So, but it kind of grew beyond him, but beyond what Luther wanted to do. That's where the Protestants pretty much came in. It's the difference between Catholic versus the Protestants. The rise of and within Protestants, separate from the Catholic, it became other religions like the rise of the Baptists, the Pentecostal, the Methodists, the Lutherans, etc., etc., etc. So this is how America was shaped. Okay, so how it connects to our spiritual journey, and that's what we want to understand and know, and that's what we're going to continue on this inspirational journey as we go to and fro on this earth, and as we find a little bit more about ourselves, about our surroundings. In order to do that, you must have the spirit of discernment. Don't forget about your armor. You need that armor of God to protect you. And I mentioned about the armor, but I forgot about the shield of faith. I talked about the helmet of salvation, the belt of truth, the feet shod with peace. I talked about the breastplate of righteousness. I talked about the sword, which is the word of God. And that's what we were speaking, use. But it cut both ways. So even though you're speaking that word on somebody else, don't forget, it'll cut you too. And then I forgot about your shield of faith all the time. So, honey, all my honey bunnies, my future selves, let me tell you, this has been a blessing. And as I go to and fro on this earth, I continue to search and research to bring back to you the way, the truth, and the life. For I am the reporter reporting to you as such. With blessings and peace and love unto you, I hope all is well. And I hope I have said something to help you along your way as I continue to go forth. Don't forget, like and subscribe. That way you always will receive that notification and you will understand and know what is next. What is your next nugget? Your next gold piece that you may need to help you along your way, just in case you're stuck and you don't know how to get on it. Well, follow the inspirational journey. It's the word. Have you not heard on this Monday? What happened to Monday? It's the word. Blessings and peace and love among you. I hope all is well as we go to and fro on this earth. And blessings and peace unto you. Blessings. Stay safe.